Hey, and welcome to this edition of Road Warrior. I'm your host, Grant Roberson. Today we try out the all-new 2013 Cadillac Xts. Now, the Cadillac Xts is the big sibling in the family, and that's compared to the ATS. Now, the Xts is going to measure in about 2 feet longer. Now, what that means is that this vehicle is great either you're the driver or to be driven in. Now, what I'm referring to is this vehicle is kind of a limo-esque like vehicle. When you get in the back, there's actually screens that kind of hide you from the public, and it's great to be back there and actually just snap your fingers and say point and drive. Now, the Xts is the big sibling in the family. It's going to measure about 2 feet longer than the ATS we've already driven. Now, the ATS is the spirited kind of quick off the line model. It has a turbo and it zips in and out. This one's kind of more of the subtle get through traffic. Now, you may remember a term called the DeVille back in the day, and that may be referred to more as your granny's caddy. Now, they don't want you to get confused here. They really don't even want you to mention the DeVille. This is a whole new line, and the XTS and ATS are sculpted on a chisel to perfection exterior. Now, when you look at this model, this is the Platinum Edition, and what that means when you look at the exterior, the paint is reminiscent almost of a bass boat to me. It has some metallic flake in it, and when you look at it, it shimmers. Now, there's just enough chrome on here. As always, it kind of surrounds the glass down low, and of course, you've got the 20-inch rims here. 19 inches is standard. Now, again, when you look at the exterior of this Cadillac, you're not reminiscent of the old days. The only part I kind of reminiscent about is this kind of rear fin tail lights and this kind of built-in tail light spoiler. Other than that, there's not strong ties to the history, and of course, probably that's what Cadillac wants to do. It doesn't want you to think of this as your daddy's caddy. And what I'm referring to is back in the day, there used to be huge trunk lids and huge hoods as well, and that meant you had a lot to look over to see traffic ahead. What you're going to see here is more of a tailored approach, sloping lines, but a lot of chiseled effects here. And that's what's great about the new Cadillac styling. All of it is reminiscent from one model to the next, but each again has their kind of own significant styling. Now, when you look at the front of the XTS, now you're still going to draw family lines similar to the ATS. It has a dramatic kind of chiseled front end, a nice pronounced crest up front, and of course that kind of dynamic lead in here that allows the air to flow over. Again, this is not like the old vehicles where you had square fronts, square sides, and the wind was a bug's nightmare. I mean, a bug hits this and it's dead. On these vehicles, everything streams right over. And again, it's tying in with its younger siblings. The ATS is more spirited, the CTS. So again, you're getting the sport, you're getting the chisel, you're getting the refinement, but you're getting this big package here. So again, this is not the same dynamic appeal that you're going to have on an ATS where it's sportier. Even the CTS, this one is meant to be driven, to be ridden in. It's got a lot more comfort and a lot more cruise down the road. Now, the biggest thing I always talk about on vehicles is legroom, and on this vehicle, I'm actually starting in the back because that is where it's most pronounced. In the front on this vehicle, of course, you got 45 inches. Now, it's plenty. Anything over 41 inches is plenty for the front seat. So that extra 4 inches there is going to be plenty of play for the backseat passengers. However, you don't need that here because you already start at 40 inches of legroom in the back. Now, that's leading in the segment above Mercedes, BMW, and things like that. So what that means is that any person sits back here, it's going to be a treat to be driven in this vehicle. And I can't harp on it enough, this vehicle is meant to be ridden in just as much as it is to be the driver. Now, again, on this vehicle, most people are going to call the back seat before they call the front. So they're going to climb back here, and what they're going to notice is that they're going to feel comfort. They're going to feel regal. They're going to feel like a person that has a personal driver. Now, what's great is once you're back here, of course, you can limo this vehicle. It has a rear power screen that the driver can put up to basically shield people from view and, of course, keep the sun out. Now, even better, of course, if you really don't want people to see you, you pull this screen up and you lock people out visually. Now, just like any luxury liner, when you get behind the wheel, you are in control. Now, this vehicle has all the comfort you desire right here at your fingertips, lumbar support, back support, all powered, of course. Even better is if you want more extension under your upper legs, you can pull this little extension kind of thigh support, and it actually allows you to kind of feel more comfortable, almost like a recliner. Now, again, on this Cadillac, you can't compare it to years gone by. This has more electronic gizmos than you can find in your home. Now, of course, it has the Q, which is up front, and has all the navigation, XM, touchscreen, Bluetooth, your phone, everything right here. Now, what's great is when you're not using it, it kind of simplifies the screen so there's not a lot of buttons. It actually just kind of has the information you need. When you wave your hand, of course, it brings up the corresponding Q buttons you might need. You can search anything you want. Home button right here gets you to all the other devices like weather, Pandora, climate settings, and even vehicle settings. Now in this vehicle, it does not have the old school gauges like in the back in the day we had tack and speed. It actually has a digital readout. There is no real needle, let's say. It's all virtual. Now supposedly you can program this to however you like, maybe move gauges around. I didn't have time to figure that out, so I simply went with the speed right in the middle, tack to the left, and fuel gauges and things to the side. Now when you're in driver's control, you got everything where you need it, and it's simple. You got volume control right here. You got plenty of controls specifically on your steering wheel. It allows you to keep your eyes on the road, and you can kind of memorize these buttons so you don't have to look down here. Better yet, of course, we talked about the touch screen. It's an arm stretch away, not too bad, and it is real simple. Now everything else, there is no knobs in this vehicle. They are touch sensitive, so you have to get used to the fact that you cannot quickly turn down your volume. You actually have to press and hold, and it eventually gets there, so it's not bad. Again, the same thing with your climate. No clutter with knobs. You do have, of course, dual climate controls, heated and cooled front seats as well. So you have everything you expect on a high-end Cadillac. Now, of course, other ergonomics that you're looking for is the comfort of your elbows. You got plenty of support on your left and right, of course. A deep center console here, covered cup holders. You're just going to find a regal appeal everywhere you look. Now, what's great is they have simplified dash and chrome colors. You don't have any dated, let's say, wood grain and things like that. So everything, of course, this is the Platinum Edition, so everything is kind of a black, darked out look. And it's just an overall what you expect appeal in this Cadillac. Now in this vehicle, it's hard not to call this a Batmobile because there are features that typically may just be on a whole nother level. Now on this one, it is the glove compartment. If you notice on the glove compartment, there is no handles. There is no traditional reach up, open it up, and close it back. On this one, of course, it's electronic release. Press the glove box button and boom, it opens right up. To close, of course, you do have to manually close it. That is an arduous task, of course. I wish they would make it powered, but we'll let that slide. But again, a lot of Batmobile-like qualities in this vehicle. Now, when you talk about the overall length of this vehicle and the plentiful legroom inside, you obviously want to know, is it compromising cargo space? In this vehicle, it is not. Averages about 18 cubic feet of space, which again is leading the segment above Mercedes and BMW. Now in this vehicle, to note, it does have the smart key, which means you leave it in your pocket, get to the doors, press it, and it unlocks. Same thing with the trunk, of course. You press the electronic release here and the trunk opens just fine. Now in this vehicle, the trunk does go in. It is more cavernous like most sedans, and it gave us plenty of room for our soccer balls on way to the soccer practice. Now again, this is not like your daddy's Caddy where you're going to find a big block V8 under the hood. You're going to have a little more fuel efficiency with the 3.6 liter V6 engine. Now you're still going to get decent power with that. You got a little over 300 horses and around about 264 foot-pounds of torque. Now in comparison to the Spirited ATS, about the same engine, of course, that's going to offer some more horsepower, about 20 to 30 more horses. And again, that's more for getting off the line. This vehicle is a luxury liner, of course, more the Titanic in the family. So again, you get decent lift off the line. Now this is a front-wheel drive or an all-wheel drive model. We tested the all-wheel drive and found, of course, that it grips the road fine. We did not hammer this vehicle. I did not find that scooting it through traffic was the way to showboat this vehicle. This vehicle is better off just kind of gliding through traffic. You can, of course, dart in and out if you want to, but I think you get a lot more head turning if you kind of just subtly approach everyone and let them take notice. Now one thing I did notice about the engine when you lift up the hood is that it's totally encased, and what I'm referring to is that you really just don't see the guts of it. It actually is adorned in a nice covering, and the same thing with the actual battery case. It actually has an enclosure, and this has been tried and true over the past, that if you protect the battery, typically you get a little bit longer life, and that's what they've done here. They got it totally encased. You can access it if you need to jump start it, things like that, but it's a nice enclosed engine, and it simplifies the look, of course. Now one thing to note on these Cadillacs is they do not come with a spare tire. Now of course the problem with that, should you get a flat, you're going to be stranded on the side of the road. Of course, if you can't afford a $60,000 plus vehicle, you probably have roadside assistance or AAA of some sort. Now this vehicle has kind of like a radar built in, and what I'm referring to is when you back up, it has sensors. When you go forward, it has sensors. When you go left or right, it has sensors. Now what you'll notice is when you're driving down the road, of course, it has blind spot awareness. That allows you to sense a vehicle before you actually see it, and it gives you that little indicator on the mirror as we see on other vehicles. This car also has rain sensing windshield wipers. Again, the rain picks up, it automatically speeds up. One interesting little note is that when you go to get fuel, there's no cap. You open the door and boom, the nozzle goes right in. No twisting of the cap. And that's great because on some other vehicles I've had, if you don't tighten it back, you get a little indicator light on there. It says you've messed up and you didn't actually tighten the cap good enough. Here we don't have that. It has kind of like a little door that keeps the air out and only the fuel in. Now the list of features in this vehicle are endless, and just a few more to go over. Of course, it has the heads-up display. Now that's going to project your speed onto your windshield, so again, you don't have to even look down to see how fast you're going. Another great one we like, and we've seen not that many other vehicles having it, is the radar sensing cruise control. Now what that allows you to do is set the cruise control, let the spacing between the other vehicles be set, and allows you to kind of keep your speed and really stay off the brake or gas as the vehicle is going to sense cars ahead and actually slow down. As you move away from them, it will then speed up. I love that on vehicles, and don't see enough of it, especially on a high luxury liners like these. That is what you expect. Now one thing to note is the magnetic ride control. Now what that is, it replaces the conventional shocks with electronic controlled shocks. Now there's a little bit of iron particles in those shocks, and what happens when applied with magnetics, it actually allows to dampen and change the dynamics of the suspension. Now what's great about that is, of course, it is what related to this vehicle in comfort and feel and smoothness. So that's done about every 5 milliseconds should it notice a difference. So this vehicle is electronically controlled from bottom to top. Now this does it for this edition of Road Warrior, and again I'm your host Grant Roberson, and we tried out the all-new 2013 Cadillac Xts. Now again, this is the big sibling in the family, and do not get this confused with the Cadillac DeVille. They don't even really want you to mention that name when you're around this vehicle. Now again, it does not have the styling cues of your grandfather's Caddy, and we've really gotten away from this being a grandpa vehicle. This is for a person that wants to drive or be driven, because the back seat again is plentiful. You got plenty of leg room, cargo space is not compromised, and this vehicle is a sound runner in the Mercedes, BMW, and all that. It's a great competitor. So again, as always, thank you for watching, and as always, keep both hands on the wheel and eyes straight ahead.